Well, hi, it's Charlie, and welcome back to Partick Hill Station. Now, I've been away for a little while. In the summer, we take advantage of the nice weather, and we were at two different cottages up north, 2 or 3 hour drive up into the lake areas. Had a relaxing time, although the one evening there was an electrical storm that caught us by surprise. We had set up a fire so that we could sit out there and roast marshmallows and let the kids look at the stars. And I set it all up ready to go, and then we went inside into this one room, which is a dining area. And all the windows flip open, glass windows. Get a nice breeze running through. And then out of nowhere came this electrical storm, and it was horizontal rain. So Joanne had to rush outside to grab the kindling that she had just purchased that day and get it up to the cottage so that it wouldn't get soaked, because wet kindling won't burn. And in the meanwhile, I'm trying to close all these windows, and I get soaked, the floor gets soaked, but never a dull moment. And the things you don't consider when you're talking about going to a cottage. One of them being that you got to take your garbage with you, and the way you do that is there are dumps. Community dumps that you have to go to. But the problem is, they're not always open every day. And as a consequence, the second week that we were up at a different location, we ended up having to take 2 bags of garbage in the SUV back down here to the city, because we just missed the opportunity of getting to the garbage dump. One was closed because it was Friday, and the other one was closed at 5 o'clock, and we never get away from the cottage until after 5. So that was very frustrating. Anyway, we made it, and I can't complain. It was nice to be up there, out in the fresh air, away from the city. Mind you, we live in the suburbs, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, just been busy, and I was at a classic car show at the weekend, posted some photographs on Facebook, and I might make a video out of it. There was a couple of hundred cars there. It was amazing, the quality some of the cars guys have maintained and restored. And talking of which, I do, or you may not know, but I do How to Restore Your Camaro podcast with Peter Del Grosso. Excuse me. And things have been pretty quiet on that front the last number of weeks, because we covered everything that we could on Peter's car that he's got at his house, and the background and history and how you go about finding that type of car and what you look for. The next step is to get to the body shop, and that might happen within the next couple of weeks. But I may do a YouTube video of the car show that I had attended at the weekend. But in the meantime, back to model railways. Now, as you just heard, I've got an interest in cars, but I've also got an interest in art and travel and various other things. And a number of people have pointed out to me that, hey, Charlie, you might want to just focus on one topic, one interest, because the number of people that you've got following you and many of them are in the model railway community. It might be confusing for some of them if they go to your YouTube channel and they see all this other stuff. And, you know, hey, I'm not interested in travel. I'm not interested in art. I'm not interested in this. I'm only interested in model railways. I thought this was a model railway channel. So, I can understand that. So I've decided that I'm going to make the quantum leap and move into a second channel specifically for model railways. And it will be Partick Hill Station. That will be the name of it. The other channel will remain as is, and it will accommodate all my other interests. So anyway, so I'll be doing that within the next week or two. I've started the process, and I think the first video that I'm going to put up there is going to be the cricket machine. Now, the cricket machine is sort of through that wall there in my sort of art computer room, and it's sitting in a box ready for the big opening. So that will be the first video that will go up in my model railway Partick Hill Station YouTube channel. And what I'm going to do is the first video will be opening and describing and setting up that cricket. And then I think the second one might be, okay, now I'm going to show you what you can do with this machine. You know, maybe cut out all the sides, ends, roof for a little building, windows, you name it. I mean, it has so much potential, and I'm excited about doing that. And it's been quite some time. I mean, I got that in March, and my wife said to me, "Don't you dare open that until you clean up that other room and clean up that room. I don't want to see any more mess down here." And that's what happens when you've got multiple interests, like art, making movies, YouTube channel, model railways, just guitars. I could go on. Anyway, so I posted a video a few days back, and it was regarding the A4s and that little cog. Now, on my mallard, it was squealing like a banshee. A couple of months back, I reported that and did a YouTube video about it. And then I watched Barry Davis, and he did a video on this. And then I made some comments about mine, and then he reposted another little video to my attention for my benefit, pointing out the issues with that cog. So, and he also recommended Lendon's as a source of finding good quality and fairly priced components. So I went into Lendon's and I went into another site. And yeah, they've got a great stock of all the bits and pieces, and they do have that brass cog from what I can see. So I've sent out an email inquiry just as a request. Send us an email with the list of what you're looking for and where this is going to be posted, because it has an impact on the cost. So I did that, and given that I live in the Toronto area, it's going to be not your £4 to send it over to Birmingham or down to London or whatever, or up to Glasgow even. You know, and it might be that it'll be a bag like that, filled with lots of little bits and pieces. The only big piece that I've asked them to quote me on is this piece here, this card for my Pendolino, because it's burnt out and I need to replace the whole thing. So, you know, if you go on the internet, on eBay, and you look for Triang Hornby spare parts, you'll get pages of the stuff coming up. But in some cases, they want £40 or $40, whatever it is, to send it over here for one little piece, one little screw or a tow bar or anything. And it's insanity, daylight robbery. And they all know who they are, and they'll give you all kinds of excuses. But, you know, I've sent bits and pieces to a couple of guys. You might be on there right now. Bits and pieces I've sent over, and it didn't cost $40, let alone £40. So I know the costs, and you know, so I've gone through this process. I've sent the inquiry, told them where I live, requested a cost, and we'll see what they come back with. And maybe it'll work out, and I really hope it does. So what I'll do is I'll show you what I've done up to this point, if I can find it here on the layout. But in the meantime, Mr. Clean, I don't know if you're familiar with this product, but you know, it's on the TV here. Mr. Clean is all over your kitchen, cleaning all kinds of stuff up there. The magic eraser. So that there is Mr. Clean, the magic eraser. Now it's a kind of foam. Well, it is a foam. Not really sure what kind, but as you can see, I've put it to use already. And it's picked up a lot of dirt from the track. And hopefully that's going to help. So, with the A4, Barry Davis pointed out that that little cog is a problem. If it's not the brass one, might be an alloy one, which I've got. And Barry said, you know, there could be a little crack in there that you can't really see. And that's what's, because the friction fit on the shaft is gone. And so it's just spinning, doing nothing. So I thought, well, I'll have a look at this and see if I can get it off and then maybe put it back on again. And I was able to do that. And behind the cog, there was this gunk, a solid bit of gunk. I don't know what it was or how long it had been there. So I pulled that off and then I cleaned the shaft. I put the cog back on and it was tight. So Barry had said, well, you've got to use something like this that will go over the top of the shaft, put it down, get your hammer and tap it into place. And I did that. And I got it on, and then I replaced the gears and put the copper clamp back on, and then put it on the track. And lo and behold, as you can see from the video, it worked. Now, I'm just going to try and give it a shot here. So I'm going to change out of here and get onto a different camera. And then we'll see if we can get it running. And you tell me what you think. So there you go, it's running. It's still a little bit noisy, but nothing like what it was before. You can maybe live with that. If I put the tender top on, it might muffle it a little bit. But that's so much better than what I had before. And that was a simple fix at low cost. Luke's model trains. Well, hello, Luke. Where are you? Good of you to drop in. And there's somebody else there. Maybe you can tell me where you are and who the other person is. So I hope you've caught what I've been talking about so far. So for zero cost, I fixed that A4, but I will replace that cog with the brass one when you eventually arrive. Oh, you're in the UK? Oh, whereabouts? As you can tell, I'm originally from Glasgow, although I live in the Toronto area. And look, if you know Glasgow, I'm from the West End, and the local train station was Partick Hill Station, hence the name. And whereabouts in the UK are you? So anyway, yeah, zero cost to fix the A4. Oh, Bristol. Oh, you know, many years ago, giving away my age here, I was in the Boys Brigade, and we went to Paynton for summer camp. And on the way back, we drove by the bridge. But can't remember the name of the bridge, but I saw it on a special. Oh, Paul Higgins, how are you? You're in Nottingham, Paul. That's good. I tell you who lives in Nottingham or close by is Chams 123, the master model railway guy. Now, John is a fabulous person, and he wasn't well there for a while last year. Then he lost his cell phone, and a few things were going on. And I spoke with him a few times on the phone, and I was happy that I was able to track him down, because I've done a few things that John had suggested in the past about, as an example, the controllers. Just switch back here for a second. You know, now I'm looking at this as a controller. That was a few dollars from China. The one that's operating right now is this one. And that was a few dollars. And this all goes back to Chams 123, and you'll see it on my channel if you look for it. Is this R569 or 369, whatever the number is? Oh, sorry, R965. Now, John discovered that he could take this apart, make some modifications to that little printed circuit board, and as a result, he could make all his old Triang Hornby locos run smoothly. And I was fascinated by this prospect because I've got a few old Triangs, and thinking, well, if I could get them to run smoothly like John's, I'll do that. I knew nothing about electronics, and I'm not I don't know a lot about the hobby. I've just learned over the years bits and pieces here. So I took it upon myself, and I was able to find some of those Triang Hornby controllers. And I went through the process. I'm just looking to see if I've got one handy that I can show you. No, I don't. Yeah, I do. So, I mean, some of you that are watching out there would have seen this before. But that's the inside of that Triang controller. And what John did was he put in a big heatsink, and I did that. And then there's a MOSFET. Had to find all these things, and 3 new wires. And then on the back, I had to cut some of the connections and then put jumpers in. Yeah, put jumpers in. And it worked. And you can see I did an exercise in this room before I built the layout. I had a piece of track, and I had that E3000 on the track, and I hooked it all up with a car battery of all things, right? Because I just wasn't sure about the electricity and whatever. Well, I had that E3000 crawling on this piece of people track. It was just unbelievable. So, one thing led to another, and next thing you know, the guys at Budget Model Railways, they've got one. And I was chatting to them, and I said, it's amazing, it's the same as what John Chams had been doing. Yeah, a duet. Oh, I've got one here. It's kind of mixed reading on it. I've used it and it works fine, but there's a bit about overheating or whatever. Anyway, if it works for you, that's good. So anyway, back to John and Budget Model Railways. Those guys do a great job, by the way. They had one of these. And as I said, I had to chat with him. I said, well, John's doing this, and so on and so forth. And I'd already ordered one of these from China. And that's what's driving that mallard. And then I found this one here, and it was like $1 or $2. and it'll only go in, at the moment it'll only go in one direction, but I believe I can fit a switch on it to make it go forward, reverse, and stop. And I've got those components. I just have to get around to doing that. One of the many things I have to get around to doing. So yeah, it's just amazing, you know, what you find. And Barry Davis, I love watching Barry Davis. You know, he's got a cornucopia of information there. He's a wealth of information, and he takes the time to explain it to you. And you know, he shops around and he finds all these deals of locomotives, like that 2200 series, which are old new locomotives. Like maybe Black Fives or Princesses or whatever that have that serial number, and you know, for a fraction of the cost of what some of the brand new models are selling for. And there's a number of shops apparently that store that have some of these in stock, and for whatever reason never get around to selling them. So if you're looking for a good buy, you know, first of all, go and check out Barry's site, his YouTube channel, and get an idea of what's actually out there, and then go looking for it. And he even tells you which shop to go to. He does a real job for everybody. And you know, once again, you have to congratulate the guy, because he had that charity thing going, and he was overwhelmed by the response. All these people that sent him in stock that he could pass on to people that were disabled. And like, phenomenal. They should get the OBE for that. And it's very saddening to hear about his dog. That was very unfortunate. So, I hope you had a look at my video that I made at George's Trains here in the Toronto area. Now, George's Trains is a model railroad store, and the odd time you get somebody handing in some British stuff, not very often, and that seems to be the trend here. But anyway, like, fabulous collection at George's Trains, and you know, these locomotives all get very unique liveries, the ones from the States especially, and you know, a variety of prices. And Richard, the owner, was telling me that he has sent stuff to the UK, and he does do that. And if anybody was interested, I'd be more than happy to do so. For the benefit of any of you guys out there that are interested in North American railroads. So I think there's two other hobby train stores in and around the city of Toronto. And the other day I visited one, John's Trains. I went in and spoke with the guy, one of the owners, and he said, unfortunately, you know, for a few reasons, COVID and security, I can't allow you to film in the store. There are two other owners I need to consult with and come up with a decision, but at this point, I'm sorry, no. But I said, that's fine. He said, if you send me an email requesting it, we'll discuss it and see if we can do something about it. And I'll follow up and do that. It's got a lot of great stuff in there, and you know, Fowler and Bowler, and some Marklin and Oliver Walters, and like landscape stuff, like just huge amounts of everything. And the guy said, I do get the odd bit of British stuff, and he says, in fact, he said, I had a high-speed train in here. Now, he might have said APT. He said one guy came and asked if you have anything. Yeah, I've got this. If you're interested, you can have it for $75, which is a really good deal, right? And he did say that it's not working or there's something missing. And the guy said, no problem, I should be able to fix it. So there you go. There is possibly going to be a model railway show coming up in September or October through the Plate Layers Group. And it all depends on COVID. Oh, so Paul's asking what kind of car did you drive when you lived in Scotland? Was that a classic car? Yeah, it was a pedal car. You know, the ones that you run with your pedals. No, I didn't own a car in Glasgow. I came here when I was 22, and I'd taken driving lessons, but I never owned a car. But the first car I bought when I came here in '73, from the way of my age here, it was a 1969 Chevelle Malibu 4-door, 6-cylinder. Nice car, like really nice car. And it was much bigger than what I was used to. But I did have a TR7 here. And unfortunately, that was a bit of a disaster. I spent a lot of money on that car and eventually had to cut my losses and get rid of it. Someone said, oh, Charlie should put a glass pop-up roof in it. Yeah, that's a great idea. So I did that, and then it began to leak, and it would leak into the passenger seat. I just couldn't get it to seal anymore because the roof frame had gone. So when I traded it in for a Volkswagen GTI, and I never told the guy that it was leaking. So, mind you, he never gave me a lot of money for it. Trading, so fair's fair. Anyway, yeah, that was years ago. And yeah, as I said, I've spoken about classic cars, and you know, I do the how to restore your Camaro with Peter Del Grosso, the Camaro expert. We do the podcast, and last weekend I was at a classic car show. So a couple of hundred cars, with loads of photographs, nice little sketches. There was a few British cars there, but most of them are Chevrolet, Dodge, Ford, all the usual ones, right? Firebirds. There weren't so many Camaros for whatever reason. So it was going to be very hot, wandering around looking at all these cars. And as I said, there was a couple of hundred there, so it took a lot of time photographing and filming. And I put a bunch of photographs up on my Facebook page for those interested. And so, you know, there's another reason why I'm doing second YouTube channel devoted entirely to model railways, and it will be called Partick Hill Station. I don't want to repeat myself, but I don't know who's on there in the background. So the existing YouTube channel will continue, and I'll continue to post stuff on there. But all the model railway stuff will be ported as playlists onto the new channel. So when you go into the new channel, you'll see Partick Hill Station, excuse me, model railways, and then there'll be the latest YouTube video, and then all the playlists of all the model railway stuff that are on, you'll get through a link into the other channel. Because, as I said, some folks, even my daughter, who's a YouTube star, she said, "Oh, Dad, you really need to get focused, and as you've got quite a number of followers in the model railway community, maybe you should be showing them just for them, and you can show all your other stuff on the other one." Yeah, okay, look, sure, do that, and you'll see some stuff there. Hubnut, yeah, Hubnut, I think I've seen that. Yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah. So, yeah, and the first video that will go up, as I said, will be the cricket. That's a cutting machine. If you're not familiar with it, look it up on the internet, you'll see it. CRICUT. So it will enable me to do loads of stuff for buildings and whatever else on the model railway. Because there's a little CAD package attached to it, and I can easily jump in and lay out walls in the roof for buildings, and then cut it out automatically on plastic card up to 2 millimeters thick. So that'll be the first video that I'll post on the new channel, and then I'll follow up after the unboxing. The next one will be how to use it. So that's going to be really exciting and interesting. Anyway, I'm going to try and send something else out here. Just have to make a little bit of space. I've got Sir Walter Wigham, the other A4, waiting. And there you go. Now, you'll see it coming up, and I'll change this. Yeah, so just thought I'd put the other one on through the other camera. Now, this is how an A4 is supposed to sound. For a moment, I'll stop the mallet, and that's how an A4 is supposed to sound. I'm guessing that it's got a brass cog in it. I haven't checked. Why bother checking if it works fine, right? So, as I said, that's how it should sound. Whereas the mallard is coming into view shortly. It's got a completely different sound. albeit not perfect. It is running, whereas before it was whining like a banshee. And as I said, I fixed that, but I will replace that cog, that 11 tube cog, with the brass one when it arrives. Anyway, so I'll just leave that one in the station there, and I'll see if I can bring this other one out. All right, so this is silver link that I'm going to be bringing out. So the silver link it's got a different sound, and that one might have a cog that would need to be replaced. I'll get round to that, and I've also got a couple of black fives that require the brass nuts or brass cogs. There must have been a time period in there where all of these locos get fitted with either a nylon or an alloy cog as opposed to the brass one. It's a sickness that we all have, unfortunately. And hopefully within a couple of weeks I will receive a package either from Lendon's or this other shop that I'm in contact with, and we'll see what's going on. I'll make a decision primarily based on the cost of postage. That's the real factor here. Both you guys may be aware that postage costs to North America are exceptionally high these days. I'm not really sure why. Even to Australia. If you saw the little video that I made about the corrugated iron, let me just see if I can get this. So I'm going to have to go back in and change out the microphone. Change out the camera. So, if you recall the video I made about this, this was a bomb shelter that people had in their backyards in the UK during the Second World War. And they were made from corrugated iron sheets. Yeah, so like that. Anyway, I made these corrugated iron sheets myself with the assistance of a tool that I got from a store down in Australia, in Melbourne. And I think the tool, just two pieces of plastic. One piece had the grooves, the sort of female grooves for a sheet of corrugated iron at a specific scale. The other piece was a little tool, about 1.5 inches long, and wasn't even 1/2 inch wide. And that was the male part. And so you put the tin foil in it, and then you pressed on using the male part, and it would create a corrugated sheet. Well, the little tool snapped after the sort of first use. And I think it cost 25 Australian dollars to get that up here. And the piece itself, like you buy the two pieces together, it may have been 15 or 16 Australian dollars. So it ended up costing a fair amount, only to be used a few times. I'll switch back out to this and then get back to. So, yeah, got near the one screen here. That's a tin foil corrugated iron fence. And I made all of those. And it was during this that the thing broke. And this goes at my scrapyard. It's just amazing what you can do. So another thing I've got going that I need to fix is my 3D printer. The 3D printer required a nozzle to be replaced. I now have the nozzle. I need to find the tool to get the nozzle off and then get it replaced so that it can start doing 3D prints again. And there's an example of what I was able to print. And, it snaps on, it's perfect. And like this bag of 3D printed stuff here, it was done by a friend of mine. I paid him to do these, and it's a different material. Here's a strip. So I'll probably paint that yellow or blue, and there's all kinds of stuff in here. These ones were printed. Yeah, okay, I'll get back to you on that, on the Facebook thing. Thanks. So these are printed with resin, whereas the buffer stock was printed with filament. So the basic difference, if you don't know, the the filament comes through a nozzle and it prints on a table that moves in 3 dimensions. Whereas the resin goes down into a bath of resin material, and then by magic it brings it out slowly, and your model is in there. It's all attached upside down with all the various supports that are required. Then you have to go through the process of breaking off all the filaments of all the support material, and then putting it into chemical to smooth it out. So it's a little bit more involved, but you know, it's a nice result. I'll get something. I mean, there's a platform trolley. It's a little bit bent, but that's easily fixed. You just put it in water. And, yeah. You know, so look right at home on the station platform over there. So I started the process of replacing plastic wheels on a number of my coaches, and I started out with the Presley LMER coaches. Plastic wheel sets, you can't adjust them, they get warm, and you need to be able to change them out. And so I started that. It wasn't cheap, but you know, I can't have coaches derail every time I run them. So that's another project. And then, you know, I mentioned this before about the weathering powders. Now, when I ordered this, I wasn't really sure the size of it, but it looks like a sample set, to be perfectly honest. And you know, it was like $25, whatever, for that. But, you know, your wife or girlfriend uses makeup, and you can use that, or you can use the little applicators with the little brushes, and then you can go to an art store and buy pastel colours, like pastel chalk, and then scrape it up and get the powder in the colour you want. That's much cheaper, and you can end up with volumes of it. You just scrape off what you want. So what else? Here's a little project that I've had on the go for some time. Like years ago I started this. It's an oil container. I've got to put the wall around it, paint it up a little bit more, weather it. So that'll be a nice addition somewhere. And talk about weathering. Bunter's Yard. Got to give a big shout out to Bunter's Yard. The guys out in Southend-on-Sea. Great little place. I told them I spent a day there. I had friends that lived in Basildon and I was visiting them. They took me out to Southend-on-Sea and Lee-on-Sea and all these quaint little places. In Basildon, I didn't know it at the time, but there was some motor railway manufacturer that was in Basildon. Had I have known that at the time, and had I have had a real interest in it, in the hobby, I had gone there. But that was back in 19 82. And at that time, my interests were elsewhere. But I was interested to know who it was that was in Basildon. Just for future reference. So let's change things up here. See if I can get something else out. I'll give the silver link a little rest, and then I'm going to pull out a black 5 and hear the noise that comes from the black 5. And this is just another job. I'm sure you can hear it. And, you know, it's a shame. Like I said, that's probably one of my more newer locomotives. But listen to it. Squeals like crazy. That's horrible. And it's all because of that cog. And I haven't looked inside, but yeah, I guarantee it's the cog. But it's pulling some nice, oh, maybe it stopped here for a reason. Anyway, yeah, it's pulling some nice oil tanks, and yeah, it seems to be a couple of dark spots on the line. It's pulling these nice oil tanks, and Barry Davis, he did a couple of videos on his collection. I hope you're watching, Barry. It'd be nice to get your feedback. Well, this is what happens when things don't work very well. I need to wait till I get things sorted here. So the other problem, and it's an ongoing problem here, and it stopped. The track isn't finalised, and as a consequence, again, things bumping into each other when the track moves. So I have to keep an eye on things. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing the track layout somewhat. I'm going to add in a third line so that I can have 3 trains going. And I'm going to try and simplify it as best I can. And so not everything is tied down. I've got the odd pin. I've got the odd pin on the track at different locations just to keep it in place, but I have to do something. I've got to get it organised, get a finalised track, get it into place, fix it, because I use homosort. Now that's that kind of insulate material. I've got that on top of the plywood tabletop, and it's easy to push pins in, and that seems to work. So yeah, that's my black 5. It's kind of winding away, and it too is going to have to be fixed. A real shame, you know, like, and you know, the funny thing is, some of the best running locomotives, surprisingly, are the old Triang Princesses that I've got. I'm just going to see if I can manage to get one out. Maybe stop that there and then do a bit of jiggling here to try and get one of these princesses out. Okay, so here goes nothing. Just got to make sure that and you know, when you think about it, that princess has got to be, it's got to be 70 years old. Let's say it's let's say it's 60 years old. I'll just get this back in here. Oh. And what I've found happening, not sure why, but some of the hookups have fallen off my wagons. So that's another job that I've got going. Let's try this again. And so, okay, if that Triang came out, and let's say 1965, let's say, so that tells you how old this thing is, and look at it and listen to it. with a little bit of care, a little bit of oiling, and trying to adjust the gauges on the wheels. Those are the original wheels. In that one, okay, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that was 1970. I can't remember the exact date when you got not the solid wheels, but the sort of the spoke wheels that you can see through. But listen to it. I mean, it's incredible. And it's got your Ringfield motor beat hands down. And I've got a few of these because I really like them. And that was the first locomotive I bought was the Princess. I bought it at the Model Railway Show here in the Toronto area. And I immediately recognised it. I can't remember what I paid at the time, and it doesn't really matter. Maybe it was $30 or $40. I just don't recall. But it runs like a charm. It pulls stuff. It's never an issue, and it's smooth, and it can go through these points. Some of the locomotives that I've got, I just find it difficult getting through some of the points. But yeah. Anyway, back to Bunter's Yard. A big shout out for Bunter's Yard. Just go back in here. Yeah, so Bunter's Yard. The guy does a lot of stuff, and most recently he's done a lot of weathering. He'll do a whole video on the weathering of one wagon or one coach. Simple procedures, simple materials. If you get your hands on a spray gun, that's even better. Or you can just use regular brush and then use a sponge to dab on the various colours and effects to make it look rusty. As I said before, I'm not an expert, but let me just get in this. There's an old body that I had of a B12, and I painted it up, made it look as if it was rusted, and not bad. And sitting at a distance in a scrapyard, it looks the part. So let's switch back again. So John Chams 123. Back to John. John is selling off his collection, which is massive. If you've ever looked at Chams 123, and he's done a number. Something caught up here. I don't know what it is. I see. Yeah. Let me stop that for a minute. All right, so not really sure which one here, but this got picked up from one of the wagons. I guess it's broken and just sort of fell off. So that's something else I need to fix. And yeah, it is a bit frustrating that there's always something to fix, but that's all part of it, I think. Turn that back, see if it goes backwards. Yep. Change the direction and away we go. And you know, I've got a number of those grain wagons. Some of them with the, I'm not sure how to describe it, I think it's sort of Mark Hemel down, Little Railway. How are you today? Good of you to drop by, Mark. What's happening? Where are you? So we're just talking about I just don't recall this type of hook, but I don't think we've got any locos that have got that type. So I'm not sure what I should do. Maybe change out the half dozen tanks that I've got. Change them to something that will work. You know, in the process of getting things in order and fixed up and whatever, I think it was the high mix, the plastic 5 that I got. It was troublesome for the longest time. And I worked on it. Then I got it running. I think it was a class 35. And it was faulting again. So I picked it up and had a look. And I saw a track pin had get picked up. And I thought, okay, that's caused the problem. So what I did was I got it out and got it back on the track. Got it back on the track, and then it wasn't running very well. So I had another look at it. And there were another 3 track pins up there in the motor. Just unbelievable, you know, that magnet just sucking anything underneath it. So near London, Hemel Hempstead maybe. I know some people in Hemel Hempstead. Nice little place. Yeah, good of you to drop by. Tell us about your layout, or I'll check you out when I'm done. I was just saying, Mark, I'm in the process of going to be opening up a new YouTube channel specifically for model railways. I've been on YouTube for 9 or 10 years doing a variety of stuff, and I was told by amongst others, but I was told by my daughter, who's well known in the social network YouTube industry. She's down in LA, her and her partner both are. She'd said to me, "Oh, Dad, you should focus on one thing. You've got quite a few followers there on YouTube. Why don't you just open up another channel specifically for the model railways?" And so what I'll do is, within the next week or two, I will launch the new channel. It will be Partick Hill Station, just as I call this one. And as a background, Mark, I don't know if you've been to Glasgow. I've been to London a few times. Partick Hill Station is in the West End of Glasgow, and it's where I was born and grew up. And this layout bears absolutely no resemblance to Partick Hill Station, but I just thought it'd be nice to call it that. And in this particular layout, when I started it, I thought, oh, it'd be nice to have an elevated track. And so, as a consequence, I hope I don't make you sick here moving this around. I was going to have 2 tracks running all the way around at an upper level. And those buildings, I need to move this, sorry. Those buildings would have gone maybe in there. And over here, there will be a tunnel because Queen Street Station and the old Buchanan Street Station in Glasgow, although they were terminus stations, they went out through a tunnel. So I thought, I'll build a tunnel over these tracks, and while I could have 2 tracks running around the top, I could also put these buildings over there to make it in a sort of town scene. But that seems a long way off, and I've got so many things that I want to do here and haven't done. That I've decided that I'm not going to go ahead with the elevated tracks. And I've put that off. So I'm going to see if I can try something else here. Okay, let's see. Just trying to pull something else out here. And this is another squealer. I'm not really sure why all these locos squeal. That's absolutely horrible. I really do believe it's a result of bad design. Yeah, that's unbearable, that one. And that's I think that's an air fix. Yeah, I believe that's an air fix. Got an old class 31 that I fixed up and got running. It just needs a little run out. Just a little bit hesitant and needs some oil. Yeah, Mark, it very well might be that it's just oil, but it just seems to be that every Ringfield motor that I have has this banshee squealing problem, and more often than not, it's because of that cog. And as I've said to the guys earlier, you know, you go on and look at Barry Davis, and you'll find that he's had the same problem, and he's discussed it. He sent me a note. The problem is the alloy or plastic cog, that 11 tooth cog that they've got on those Ringfield motors. That's the problem. Anyway, my intention for today was just to jump on and say hi. How is everybody? You know, I'm still here in spite of COVID and everything else that's going on. And this is what's happening with me, so on and so forth. And now I've been on for an hour and 25 minutes. So many things to show, so many topics to discuss. Part of my problem is I run out of space, and I lose focus on what's on the layout. You know, part of the problem is I should get the stuff off as soon as I finish running it, and you know, I want to put something else on. then I can put it away in boxes. Because if you don't, you can end up with a right old mess. And that's the position I'm in right now. I mean, what you're seeing is okay, relatively clear, but it's chaos otherwise. So I'm interested to know. Oh, you did Newland Railway. Oh, thanks very much. That would be very useful, and I will certainly look into that. Because, as I said, I've sent a couple of emails out inquiring, and the big problem is the alloy cogs that I've got. They seem to be the issue. There must be a minute crack in them because that's what causes the spinning. It loses that machine fit interface between the hole in the cog and the shaft and the motor. If you get a crack, then you can't maintain that diameter. So yeah, I'll certainly look at that and see if it's one of the two that I sent an inquiry to. So the station there, I've got a canopy for it. You can see part of it. Right. And I've left it off at the moment as if it's under construction. And the reason I've left it off is I haven't finalised the track. And when I do that, I'll nail it all down and then I'll get that canopy on. There's just so many things to do. Anyway, quite enjoying seeing the old princess go around there. Still performing well after all those years. Yeah, Mark, you're right. There's just so many things. So many things. I don't know if you've been around my channel, but this here I got from a dollar store. It's metallic glass gravel. So I bought that. I mixed it up with a black acrylic paint, and then I got all this coal. So I've got coal to put in tenders to supplement the manufacturer's coal, and also I did a build, a YouTube build on making this stay and added some of that coal in. So, and then as I said to the guys earlier, I'll get my 3D printer back up and running. And I did some painting of figures. Now I'm going to go back into these and do a little bit more, because you know, I did them in very muted colours, typical of the 1950s after the war. But I think I can change them up a bit and make them a little bit brighter, but not as bright as some of the colours you see on some of the figures available on eBay. Don't need them popping off the platform. Just like to get them to be in there. Yeah, those are figures. They look realistic. And some of you may have seen my Glasgow tenement building. I made it out of cardboard from the back of the foolscap page, that grey cardboard. And you can see the residents there are up in arms with the factor. Anyway, so as I said, I bought some for some Lima conversion figures. Mark, is that what you bought? I give another shout out to Charlie over at Chadwick Model Railway. I'm talking about figures. Charlie went through the process of installing figures into his diesel locos, and he ended up having to cut the legs off the drivers to get them in because there just wasn't enough space. You would think some bright spark would have made the appropriate styled figures with no legs to put inside the diesel locos without chopping or amputating the legs. Yeah. But the 8 and 10 tooth cogs, specifically, what are they for? Andrew Dobson, how are you? Nice of you to drop by, Andrew. There's no echo today, so don't be complaining. I got that solved some time back. So those cogs, Mark, what were the Newland Railway? Yeah, what were the cogs for? A specific local? Or the Lima pancake? Okay. I think I've got a couple of Lima locomotives. And touch wood, I don't have an issue with it. That's all I need. I'm having to work my way through what I've got. Talking about Lima, there's that little Lima shunter. I picked it up for $10 or $15. The original colour is blue, and I've got a blue one somewhere. But I painted it black and then weathered it a little bit. And it runs really well. I put some weights in it maybe slow it down a little bit. But for something unusual for an industrial site, it might just work quite well. So maybe what I should do is maybe give this one a rest. Just for your entertainment, let's see if I can get this. Yeah, so for an industrial site, that's a nice little loco that you can paint up and weather. And, you know, I've got it running at a reasonable speed. And it fits in, doesn't really look out of place. So I'll put something else on that you might be interested in seeing. I'll just pull this one off, put it away. And then just put it with me for a second. Yeah, hopefully this will work. Hang on a second here, I've got my wires crossed, as I say. Yeah. Try this again. Okay. So a while back, I saw somebody on the local Facebook sales page had a 4F for sale. You don't see too many things like that up for sale. So I went and met the guy for it. It's an Airfix, and it runs great. It looks great. Now, turns out I've actually got 3 of them, which wasn't intentional. But 2 of them are British Railway. One of them was LNER. And I thought, well, I should buy that, and then I could sell it or trade it for something else. Anyway, it's pulling a Caravelle wagon that I modified and placed an Airfix Spitfire into it. And I'll just slow it down as it comes in here and let you see. So that's the Caravelle wagon, and I chopped it up, and then I took an Airfix model that I'd built and painted, and I saw this in a magazine years ago, and then I used some tissue paper over the cockpit, and I put glue on it and painted it so that it looked like green tarpaulin, and then just a couple of old engineer coaches, and I've got a couple of other odds and ends to add on to that, with the crane and different things. So I just thought that would be an unusual, unique addition to the railway. And there's a further story behind the Caravelle car transporters, and it is this, once again, John Champs 123. John did a YouTube video on how to modify the Caravelle car transporter and how to make it run smoother. Now, the problem with those carriers is that I'm just wondering. So that I could use my talking stick. All right, so yeah, that looks okay. So with the Caravelle car transporter, it had a habit of rotating on its axles. It wasn't very stable, and the wheels were plastic and rubbish. So what John did was he removed all those plastic wheels and replaced them with steel wheels or metal wheels. Now, there's a whole story behind that. You can check out his video on it. He recommended, I can't remember if it was a 12.1 diameter wheel, but the only place they were available was through Lilliput. And then I think what happened with them is they must have realised that there was a bit of a demand for their wheels, so they jacked up the price. Anyway, so that was the one aspect. The other one was he put a nut and a washer and a bolt into those bogies, and then fixed it with a little bit of crazy glue, and then they run really smooth now. I've got 5 or 6 of them in cars, and they run just fine. They look great. Yeah, that was another exercise that John went through, and I found suitable wheels on either eBay or Amazon from China. I guess you can get anything from China. If they see that there's a need for it, if you give them the information, oh, I'm looking for this, they'll come up with something, and next thing you know, it's for sale on the internet. That's why you have things like this, a little controller. Look at the size of that. Yeah, you can get anything on the internet. Okay. I've been to China. It's an amazing place. I've been to Hong Kong. If you've not been to Hong Kong and get a chance, you should go, because there are streets and streets and streets of workshops. The bottom floor, the ground floor frontage, are all these places where they lift up the garage door, and there's a whole workshop in there, and people are making all kinds of things, and there's always stuff coming and going. And there are areas within Hong Kong, that's where you will get electrical motors, that's where you'll get tools, that's where you'll get such and such. It's an amazing place. Or CD motor conversions. Yeah, the guy up at Strathspey, he's doing those. I often thought of giving it a shot, see how it worked out. If that's what you're doing, let me know how it goes. I'd be interested to hear about that. All good here, Andrew. Yeah, that'd be good. So, as I say, I'll see how things go with these 2 stores that one was recommended by Barry Davis. Another big shout out to Buckland Junction. That's some way out. He's got in his, he's been building up his loft. I don't know if you followed his tour around the UK, but he came across some real interesting locations and real life railways. Anyway, guys, look, it's 1 hour 50 minutes, and I think I'm going to have to go and grab a bit of late lunch, because it's going to be longer than I thought it would be. But that's okay. It's all good fun and jolly good company, as I say. Thanks very much for all of you for dropping by. I hope you saw something interesting. Yeah, Mark, I'll get back to you on Facebook. Andrew, thanks for dropping in. And, Look, good of you to drop by too from Bristol. I think Mid-Jure lives in Bristol. I don't know if you know Mid-Jure. Singer-songwriter, producer, director of Live Aid, ex of Ultravox, and then I know a great automotive artist, photographer, Stefan Marjoram, that lives in Bristol, or just outside Bristol. Nice area. I must get there sometime. Next time I'm back in the UK. Yeah, thanks very much for all of you, as I say, for taking the time, for dropping by. And I'll try and get back on a more regular schedule. The coming weeks. So it's goodbye from Partick Hill Station. Thanks very much for dropping by. Don't forget to give me the big thumbs up, because the interesting thing is, I get a lot of views, but I don't get everybody giving me the thumbs up, and I certainly don't get everybody subscribing. And it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. And I'll check your channel out and I'll subscribe to you. Anyway, cheers, all the best. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much. Bye for now.